Hi everybody, Lori here from Unique in the Creek, and today I'm going to show you a new petal. I think I'm going to call it the tulip petal because that's what it reminds me of, a tulip shape. And I'm going to be using this white, it's called wide stripe mesh. I don't know why it's called that, but it is. It is very similar to a polyburlap. But it doesn't fray like a polyburlap, okay? And it's half the cost. Okay, and it makes absolutely stunning flowers. So I love using it. So it is a 10-inch by 10-yard roll. I'm also going to be using some of this green mesh just for some leaves. I am using this 6.25-inch realistic looking flower center. This one happens to be all yellow. So this flower, once I put the center in, it's going to look like pretty much like a daisy, right? I'm also going to add this cute little ladybug onto my center. And to do my center, the easiest way I found, I used to use with the foam centers, I used to use like floral pins, and you can most definitely still do that. But lately I've been using just a cable mount. A cable mount, and you take the foam off the back of the cable mount and glue the plastic right to the foam with hot glue. And on the back of the foam, you can actually see a little dot. That's the exact center. So you want the center of your cable mount glued right in the center of your flower center. So I think the hardest part is getting this foam sticky stuff off. And we do that because eventually this foam stuff will give way, and your flower center may fall off once the glue gives way on this stuff. So we've learned along the way to just remove the foam and glue our cable mounts right onto whatever substrate we're using. So this happens to be foam. All right, we're almost off. So I'm doing this first so I have enough time by the time I'm done my flower that the center will be all dried, like the glue will be all dried. Okay, so before you do that, before we start gluing, on the sides, there's little insert, like not holes, but little slits. You're going to slide your pipe cleaner right through the slit and bring it up. And this makes it much easier to glue your cable mounts than trying to hold the top of it. You can just hold the pipe cleaner. So what you're going to do now is you can either put the glue right on your cable mount, or you can just put the glue, a good amount of hot glue, right in the center of your foam. And I'll just watch because it's going to come seeping up through the center. So let's just hold this down for a second. And you can kind of hear it sizzling right into the foam. That's a good sound because then we'll have good contact. Okay, so we're going to put this to the center until we're ready to use it. You could put your ladybug on. Actually, maybe let's do that. I'm going to use my little wire nippers. Now this is on a wire. Okay, so you could either take the wire off and just hot glue it on, or you can take the wire, cut a small piece off, and actually stick it right in to the foam and glue it once it's in there as well. Like that. So we'll put a little bit of hot glue on the bottom of our little butterfly. And then we'll just ladybug. And then we'll just hold it. All right, our flower center is ready to go when we are going to need it. Isn't that cute? Okay, so I'm going to put that to the side, and we're going to do our mesh. So we're going to use a large Unique in the Creek board. We're going to use 6-inch 18-pound zip ties. We won't need the clothespins, but the clothespins are always good and handy to have. And we're going to use wire nippers to cut our zip tie tails off. Okay, I'm going to show you a different way. Now, I always, just by habit, I always load my board going down one hole, up the other. You're having the flat part of your zip tie facing the tail, and you hear a quick zip. There is another way you can do it a little faster. If you take like a cup or like a coffee cup or something, or anything that you can balance the board on, flip it upside down the board, okay? Take your zip ties, and when you're going to put them in the hole, what you want to do is make sure that that flat part of that zip tie head will be facing the tail. So when you put it in, the flat part is going towards the middle of these two holes. And you can stick your zip ties, and it's much easier. I put something underneath so you have it raised above the table, and go around and load your board just like that. Now you can do one row at a time, and once you're finished the one row, flip it over, and then just do your zip tie up till you hear a couple zip sounds. You don't want to do it really close to the board because we want to leave space between the board and the zip tie to get our petals in. So however way you load your zip tie, we are going to be loading closed rows 2, and you can see that on the board there's rows 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, row 1 here, there's 2 holes that are chamfered in. Those are our hanging holes, and we're going to put a zip tie at the end of our wreath when we're finished it to hang our wreath on. Okay, so quick idea, again, just grab a coffee cup. I'm just using my clip thing. Put your board on the middle, and all you have to do is make sure that flat part of your zip tie head is going towards the center of the 2 holes. Alrighty, really easy. You can load the board super quick. Alrighty. So once you've got your board loaded, so again, the normal holes on rows 2, 3, 4. I'm going to leave 5 unloaded until we get to the end so it's not so crowded. Once you get it loaded, we're going to cut our mesh. Now you do not have the petal I'm going to show you. You do not have to heat seal or wood burn. I try my best to come up with petals like that do not need those things, because it's a lot of work, and it's not good for you. It's not good for you breathing in the plastic. Okay, so this, like I mentioned at the beginning, is 10 inches by 10 yards. Okay, I'm going to cut this whole roll. Now I've already started my wreath, but that's why the roll is open. But I am going to cut this whole roll at 10 inches increments. So we're going to have 10 by 10 pieces. Now the nice thing with this, if you don't have a rotary cutter, you can measure out your 10 inches, and you can even cut it with scissors. And just go with your scissors between the 2 thicker lines. Just like I'm doing right there. And that way you still have that thick line, and it'll prevent fraying. Now this petal doesn't, we won't be seeing any of the edges, but that's just how cool I love. Well, this is just one thing I love about this mesh is its versatility, and it's so easy to use. So we're going to cut the rest of this mesh at 10 inches. So 30, 20, 10. So I have a larger cutting mat, so I can cut them 3. Okay, once your mesh is cut and your board is preloaded, you're going to start making your petals. Now you can pre-make your petals, or once your board is loaded, you can stick them right in to the zip tie. So for this petal, like always, we have our 10 by 10 piece, and I'm going to use it curled up, okay? I am going to take the top corner and bring it down to the bottom corner and make this triangle. Now it doesn't have to be a perfect triangle, but we do want the two corners to match at the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm putting my thumb right down by the bottom, and I'm stretching a little bit just so I can get that imaginary center line, because I want to take this right piece and I'm going to go right before the center line, straight down. Okay, just like that. And then this side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take it and bring it straight down. Now, the only part that should be up against each other is right at the bottom here. So you're going to butt the two at the bottom up at the center, right up the center. So bring it down right here, and then bring this, and now it's not crossing over anywhere. It's just the bottom corner butting right up against this seam of that left side or right side, okay? And it almost looks like an envelope that we have, all right? And it looks like the Gerbera petal, but when you pinch it, so it's very important that these two butt up against each other and don't overlap each other, because then you're going to have the Gerbera petal, or Gerbera, however you call it. I'm putting my tip of my petal on, it's 23 inches. I'm going to pinch right at the 2-inch mark. So it's at 23. Where I'm going to pinch is at 21. And this is important because when you pinch it like that, it makes the opening at the top. See how it kind of looks like a tulip? It makes this opening. The opening will be exactly the same for each petal. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. You're going to take where you pinched at the 2 inches, and that's where you're going to put it right into your zip tie and pull. So there's going to be 2 inches of a tail. Okay, and that's your petal. Doesn't that look like a tulip? It's pretty cool, eh? Okay, let's do that again. Now I have pre-done some of the, I have to preload my board. Finish preloading my board. I have done some of it, and it's turning out just fabulous for my liking. Okay. Isn't this an easy way to load your boards? I know a lot of people already do them upside down like this, but upside down elevated, even quicker. And you can see exactly where you've loaded. We're good. That was fast. And now you're just going to flip it over and do each of the zip tie up so you hear a little zip. So you guys can see what the flower looks like already. Isn't it pretty? And it's easy. The key is making sure that the two sides butt up against each other in the center. and pinching at that 2-inch mark. So each of these openings right here are the exact same size. Now I'm doing this in white. Obviously it's going to probably look like a daisy with my yellow center. You could do any color. I do really want to do a red and yellow flower for my door, but we'll get there. Okay, so I've preloaded. Let's make another petal. Okay, again, I've said many times, I always make sure that my edge, a finished edge, is on the left-hand side. This, it really doesn't matter, but again, I still like to teach you guys to get into a habit. So there's my finished edge. Curl up, so it's springing. Top corner down to the bottom corner. Okay, right side, remember the tattoo, we're putting our thumb right just above the corner here at the bottom. Kind of stretch so we can see that mark, or you can put it just on your cutting mat. And you're going to take this and go straight down right before the center, because you need to give a little bit of space for this side to come right down the center as well. And remember, the only part that's going to butt up against each other is about from 2 inches down. That's the only part we want. We don't want up top, even though it does meet, but that's not what we're focusing on. We're focusing on the bottom here. Okay, and then scrunching up 2 inches. So there, it's on the 22, so I'm going to scrunch it right at the 20. That looks like it was over top. There we go. We don't want the two sides that we brought in. We don't want it folding over the center at all, because we want to make sure we have this opening. That's what makes this petal a little bit different than any of the other ones. And then right where you pinched, we're going to make sure that this petal does go in 2 inches, so that each petal is sticking out the same way, or the same amount. There we go. So corner to corner. Get your center. Bring in the right side just before the center. Left side right up against the right side, 2 inches up, and it gives you the same formation. Put your tail in 2 inches and pull the zip tie. Now if you want to put clips on, you would clip right at the 2 inches, or you can put rubber bands on and rubber band it at 2 inches. Okay. So you want to make sure the two sides are the same length, and we're going to scrunch it in 2 inches. And then if you just pop it out, it opens up. And we'll probably have to fold. Is everything folding over? So I'm making sure that each is kind of tilted a little bit because we have a petal underneath. I'm making sure this petal is, or this side, which if I'm looking at it is my right side, is over top of this side because that's the serged edge. This is not a serged edge, so putting this over top will cover that if there's any strings or anything. So again, just right here is meeting. I'm going to just do a 2-inch pinch and stick it right in. Stick it right into the zip tie until it hits your fingers. And you can see you have the same opening almost every time if you do it like that. Going around and lifting the right side of each petal to put it over top of the left side. So they're all kind of tilted the same way and we don't see any strings or anything. So there we go. Now I'm going to go around and cut the tips of the zip ties off. Okay, now we're going to start row 3 doing the exact same thing. Almost looks like a shovel. So it's not quite, it's not pointy like the Gerbera. It's open. It's more open at the end, and I do have the seams up because we're being so meticulous with butting up the ends at the corner here, that the seams should be all the same size. Obviously, I'm not very good at cutting 10 by 10 pieces because these don't seem to be quite square, but that's okay. With this petal, it's very forgiving. Again, we're still going in 2 inches, okay? So the petal size stays the same throughout the whole wreath. If you put your thumb, it prevents you from going past the center mark. Again, I'm going to have my right side of the petal going over top of the neighboring petal. Now when we get to this, towards the center, we're going to start cutting these tails down a bit. It's all about this matching up, and then the 2-inch pinch. Where was I? Oh, right here. Okay, cut off the zip tie tails. And I'm also going to trim a little bit of the tail here. See how it's perfect? The opening is almost perfect every time if you do it like, if you have your sides butt up against each other and you pinch it at 2 inches. If you pinch it at 3 inches, it will cross over and almost look like a Gerbera petal. So the 2 inches is important. Okay, I'm going to trim some of these off just so I can see the holes a little better. Where's our flower center? Oh, that's going to look so pretty. All right, now we're going to do number 5, row 5. I'm going to do the regular holes first, so 4 of them, and then we'll see if I need to do the shared holes. And we are going to have to use the second roll a little bit. One piece. One piece. when you get your roll, it's completely a whole 10 yards, because that's all you need to do this flower is one roll. Now we could add more if you wanted to add more petals in there between the shared holes. So if you wanted to add more here, but I don't think we need to because it's so full already. I am going to trim some of the tail off so I can see my 2 center holes here. Probably trim them before I put them in. Okay, making sure, again, none of the seams should be over top of each other. They all should be just butting up. What a pretty flower. Very neat looking too. And let's put our center in. Look how cute. It's all ready to go. I'm just going to go on the bottom. There's 2 center holes. Now, if you have an older board, you can use just a hole from row 5 from here and then just directly across. Use the parallel hole. The newer boards have 2 holes in the center. So you just take your pipe cleaner, go down one, go down the other, pull this in and we'll nestle it nicely. Not too tight. Give it a twist. We'll cut some of the excess pipe cleaner off. Push it back down the hole to keep everything neat. Look how pretty. Pull these, make sure they're all sitting nicely. And we'll put some green leaves on. Isn't that pretty? Definitely fit between 2 doors. Kind of 3D looking, the way the petal is done. And it should take you only 1 roll of mesh. Hopefully you get a full roll. This is what I had left on my roll. I obviously didn't get a full 10 yards. Some green leaves. The green leaves for this, especially a daisy or a flower similar to this, the green leaves really make it pop. So this is a moss apple green. Now, if you want, you will see the sides of this, but you can heat seal it or wood burn it so it doesn't fray. I tend to not, but I'm just going to cut these at 10 by 10. So I'm going to cut off the edge here first. So I want to line up your mesh along a line to make sure you're going to get a straight cut. And I might put a few green leaves around here. Let's see. So let's roll out the mesh. So hold it down. $30. That's 3. And maybe I think to do 3 on each side. You can go all the way around on row number 1 with a leaf in every hole if you would like. I tend to like to keep the leaves clumped into sides, so I'll do 3 leaves on the left side, and directly across I'll do 3 leaves on the right side. So I'm just going to use 6 pieces of mesh. Like I said, 3 on each side. We are going to be using row number 1. Let's put our hanging hole or hanging in there. So at the top you'll see 2 holes close together. Those are your hanging holes, and it's right at the top of your wreath frame board. Okay, you'll see the Unique in the Creek logo. Just do one of the zip ties up until you hear a few clicks. Click or cut the tail off. That'll prevent it from going any further in or out. Okay, and then I'm going to use this hole and go straight across, I think, and use this hole. So I'll just do perpendicular, but I'm going to put 3 petals in each hole. So the petals are pretty easy to do. I'm going to do where you have a 10 by 10 piece. Grab one of your clothespins, bring the bottom approximately to the middle, the top just over top of that corner, and we're going to scrunch right up the center and flip it so they're about the same length. And I'm going to put a clothespin on it. I'm going to do 3 in the same one. Okay, now I'm going to take a zip tie, and I think I said this hole, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go from the back and just take my zip tie, go through the back, so we're going to go around the edge of the board. I'm going to take each of these petals and I'm going to nestle them inside of one another. So there's the 3. So 1, 2, the third one. So we want this side showing because when you flip it over, you'll see all the cut edges. We don't want to see that. We want to see this. However, because I'm doing the leaves upside down, I'm going to have the cut edges facing towards me. I'm going to take where the center is. I've pinched it. Just put it, kind of tuck it under the board. Don't let go. And come around and do your zip tie up. Just like that. And you're going to tuck it so the leaves are kind of sitting on the other side of the board. And do it tight. Now you can then pop the zip tie into the hole, or you can keep the zip tie head right on the side of the board. It's totally up to you. And make sure you cut that tail right to the head so there's nothing sharp. Okay, let's flip this over. I've got some strings, but that's okay, we'll fix them. So this is what I mean by clumping the leaves. So it's like a cluster of leaves right here instead of individual ones. And now I'm going to do the same thing directly across. There we go. start my leaves right here. So follow this, and I'm going to put the other set right here. And doing the same thing. So again, I'm going to nestle the centers in each other. Now you don't have to do 3, you can do 2 like this, or you can do them all the way around. I like I said, the green going all the way around does set it off, but I think it just looks more elegant with just the cluster of leaves. So we have the bad side facing up towards us. We're going to make sure that the centers are tucked and laying on the board, and then we'll tighten this up. And you'll see that the green really does, even though I only put, you know, in 2 sections, it really does make the flower. Look how pretty. Just pull them out, straighten them out, get rid of any. I just pull the strings off. They're stuck. And there we go. The tulip petal flower. Done. Thanks for joining me, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can find more tutorials such as this one. Bye everybody.